Hello, hello. Welcome to this episode of the Rich Revolutionaries podcast, where we have on another very special guest, Esti Altman. Let us know who you are, what you do, what your magic is in the world.
Hey, hi Chenisse. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Mhm.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know me, I'm Esti Altman. I'm a conscious parenting coach and also owner of a heart-centered daycare that I call Mini Minds. I love them little mini minds. And really the work I do blends like everything I've learned about emotional awareness and boundaries and connection, both from what I lacked as a child and then also what I've chosen to create as a mother.
Mhm. Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Like, before and after timeline. It's like a big theme that's come through my work too, is what I like to call life alchemists, is taking the experiences that we've had and really like transmuting and transforming them into the gifts that we're here to offer.
Yeah, and for me, like, I don't know about you, but like growing up, there was a space where emotions were just not welcomed. And
Mm-hmm.
so the message was clear, like, don't have the emotions, and also everyone else's needs come before your own. And
Mm-hmm.
so I became the helper. I became the pleaser, always trying to keep the peace.
Mm-hmm.
And really I was just silencing what I felt on the inside. And then when I became a mom, I promised myself that I would do things differently. And that's like, I'm not doing that. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is when I had my own children, I like children will really trigger everything inside of you and they will literally mirror everything that you experienced growing up. And it's like right there in your face and like, what do I do with this now?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so I would really repeat the same exact cycle. And I found myself yelling, punishing, threatening, bribing, all the things I grew up with. And then later at night, I would go to bed and literally soak my pillow with tears because I knew that that was not who I wanted to be. I knew that my children deserved better. I knew I deserved better, but I just didn't know how. And I'm like, I've never seen this model. I know what I want to do. I know how I want to show up. I don't know how. I'm missing something. And so I remember I took this course, and the one thing that she said, like a parenting course, it really, really struck me. And she asked us a question, and she said, why do we have such an aversion to kids crying? I was like, she's like, don't you sometimes cry as an adult? And I'm like, wow, like that's really where it's at. Like that's the piece I've been missing, right? Because it's like I realized that emotions don't need to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be felt and they really need to be witnessed. And so that's really where I began my own journey. And I started noticing this pattern of like the people pleasing and that was showing up in my motherhood. I was saying yes when really I meant no. I'm like, okay, fine, you can watch another 5 minutes before we need to go, or we can stay another extra 10 minutes at the park. And really I was like on the inside, it was a no, but I just didn't want them to feel a certain way because then I would have to fix their emotions. So I'm like, all right, great, a problem solved. Let's just go against myself so that I don't need to worry about their feelings. Um, yeah, and so that was the journey of really recognizing that, boundaries is a big thing and it's not selfish. Like it's actually necessary. And also it's okay if your children are disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessarily only for children. This is for anyone in any relationships that you have. It's like it's okay if my boundary, my no, will make you or someone else be disappointed and sad, and that's okay. And I can also hold space for that while not withering, till like with my own boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
So really, that's why I'm so passionate about the whole conscious parenting, because I help moms go from the reactive too responsive because what happens is when they're reactive, it's because they've built up so much resentment already. They're like, I already told you 3 times, right? It's like, well, why did we go through the 3 times and not deal with like what happens the first time? And so that's really what I do is like going to the root cause of everything, digging deep, deep, deep into all the like expanding our awareness and everything around the situation. And then we can go to talking about language and structures and system, how to talk to our kids to gain the cooperation and setting in those masculine containers that we know they can bounce around within those four walls, but not past them.
Hmm.
Right. And it's like that's how we do things. And it's so interesting because for me, and you can jump in at any time,
Yeah,
but for
I'm just
me,
like
like
in awe here. I'm like watching it pour out of you. I'm like, yes, this is what I love to do. It's like give you a stage and share your magic. And there's a couple of like tangents I just want to like weave in here, and then I'll let you keep going.
yeah, of course.
um, so like what you said about boundaries, like I think there's a collective misconception of boundaries being like mean or it being like hurtful or harmful when really like boundaries is the least selfish thing you can do because it's teaching other people how to be in loving connection with you in a way that is self-honoring for both parties. When I set my boundary, I'm honoring myself and I'm honoring you in saying, I trust in your ability to handle yourself and in the quality of our connection will maintain even when I am disappointing you. And there's a quote that I came upon recently about disappointment from Glennon Doyle, and I might kind of be paraphrasing here. um, and it's saying that when we're faced with the choice to either disappoint ourselves or disappoint someone else, it is our duty to disappoint that other person.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay. The
So
other
good.
thread I wanted to weave in here is how we know each other. Let's tell the audience
Yeah,
the
let's talk about
context of
that.
this relationship. So we actually first met recently in Denver at Shayna Raskin's Body Talk show. And I'd actually love for you to lead the conversation on kind of your first impression of me.
Ooh, this is a fun one. Okay, I got some good juice for all of you. Okay, so we're sitting and eating lunch. We were having a little lunch break. And Shanice like slides into our little spot there. And she's like, "Can I join you guys?" And we're having this little chit chat talk, and I found everything you were saying so enlightening. And I was like, wow, damn, this woman like really believes in herself. And she's like, you had this like stance of like just power and confidence, just knowing who you are. And then lo and behold, we leave the table, and literally the woman sitting right next to us was like, "Oh my God, I heard what you have to offer. Can I have it too? Like, can you send me the information?" And you guys had a little chit chat. I was like, that is literally what magnetism is. It's like you were just being in your element, and the person sitting next to us was just like, "Oh, I want in. I don't even know what it is, but I want in." So I thought
Mhm.
that was brilliant. That was like really, I keep thinking back to that moment, and I'm like, damn, like that, like you're so inspiring. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that was like quite a magical moment of where I felt like timelines and reality shift because I was sitting there and like what was going on internally for me, I was like listening to this conversation. I was like, oh, I actually don't agree with a lot of what's being said here. And then I was kind of like feeling this like energy rising and not really saying anything. I'm like, wait, I get to actually be the person that shifts this conversation. I don't need to withhold what I'm feeling here. So I just like let it rip. And then everyone's like, oh, I never thought about it like that. Like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then the woman at the other table is like, wait, like I need that too. And it was really like a scene out of a movie of what people will say, like, go and like do your work in a coffee shop and watch people like just jump in and engage with you. Like, oh wow, it gets to be this easy when I'm just in my uninterrupted flow of expression. And that's really what I love to do here on the podcast too, is allow us each to kind of riff back and forth and just be in that flow. um yeah,
Yeah,
so
I love that
from
so much.
from that space, I think it was that morning, actually right before lunch, where we had a practical with Shayna and her body talk method, where I volunteered first to go into the middle of the circle because I was so lit up to be in this space. I wanted to go to her Body Talk Live festival here in Mexico, where I'm now living, earlier this year, and I just like didn't make it happen. I like shrunk back down, and wasn't able to like fully like live in my desire at that point. And so like being there felt like this redemption arc in my main character's story. So when she's like, who wants to go in the circle? I'm like, I do. I've been waiting for this moment. So
Yeah.
it happened. And basically the exercise, for those of you who are not who weren't there, Esti already knows this, was to like share what is holding you back from expressing what you have to offer online. And I was like, I'm scared of being ridiculed. And so Shayna goes, all right, everybody in the circle ridicule Chenisse. And then there was a moment of like, oh shit, like, fuck, what's happening? And then as everybody was doing it, I was looking around. I'm like, wait a minute, like, I don't believe anybody. Like, I don't believe you. And it just was this embodied shift of, I know that what I have to say is powerful.
Mm.
I know that there's a mission and a message on my heart that I'm here to deliver, regardless of what anybody has to think or say or feel or do about it. And I feel like that embodied reference point really like solidified in that conversation and exchange that we had at lunch too. So it was like all these little pieces that I wanted to paint the full picture of here and kind of
Yeah, I
give it
love
back.
that so much. Honestly, I want to share what my experience was witnessing you do that. And I'm so happy you're talking about this because I was gonna say I'm that too. That was also part of what inspired me. Like you like offered to go first, demonstrate, let's go, I'm in. And then you just literally asked to be ridiculed. Well, you didn't ask for it, but you asked for it. And then I'm all sitting there making fun of you. And I'm literally finding myself in tears because I'm like, damn, I'm watching you dead stare me in the eye, and you're like, I don't give a fuck about what you gotta say. Like that was the energy I was feeling. And I'm like, wow, that's like another level and layer. And it wasn't just me, like it was the entire circle was doing this, and you were just walking around, looking everyone in the eye. You got your hands on your hips, I think, like your shoulders were up, and you were just like, give it to me. Try me. So I love that so much. That was, yeah, it was so cool to witness that.
Mhm. Yeah. Even
And
just
by the
like
way, when you say, yeah, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
When you were saying that you weren't agreeing necessarily with the conversation at the lunch table, was that something that I was saying? Because I'd love to unpack that here. Or no, not necessarily.
Um, no, it wasn't what you were saying. I think it
Okay.
was what there was someone there that was talking about um sales strategy or
Okay.
something of the sort of like I think it was something along the lines of like this is common coaching industry advice of having smaller containers for people rather than like a year-long space, and that being like quote unquote easier to sell. And while that might be true for like a certain level of buyer sophistication, that hasn't been my experience. Like my experience,
Okay.
like immediately getting into coaching, I've only ever done year-long commitments because I'm the type of person that wants to jump in the middle of the circle and like get into it right away. And that's who I'm here
Yeah.
to serve too. So it really depends, like your business offer suite structure is meant to be designed for your soulmate client and for the transformation that you're here to deliver them, not based on some expert advice or coaching industry norms. And so this was something that like I had been reconciling with myself because I'd been in like I think the vortex, which we're both in with Shoshana Raven, is my third like mentorship space that's a year long, and everybody kind of says the same thing of like, okay, start with like your 3 month thing or your like 7 week thing and then build your way up. It's like, okay, but like what if I feel called to work with people at a CEO level right away? and that I can root into a different source of power that isn't in my mind-based intelligence of systems and strategies that I've learned, although I have also that,
Yeah.
but it's rooted in a deeper place of knowing the power that is infinite, limitless, eternally existing in my like center of my being, and knowing that I have built society, culture, community in so many lifetimes. And when I sift through the layers of emotion that have been conditioned on top of that from family, culture, society, and actually allow myself to feel and process and move that, which most people don't want to do, except for the people that I work with. Hey, if you're kinky like me and like to get into the depths
Yeah.
of your unconscious, reach out. Then you have access to this well of power that you get to lead from, you get to source information from, and bring the strategy and the expert advice with that too, but not starting from this like top down processing. It's rather like embodiment work, unconscious reconditioning, reprogramming, bottom up.
I love that. I love your innate wisdom. It's just like you have this solid ground and ain't nobody gonna tell you differently or otherwise, you know, it's just like it is what it is. And also I think it's interesting that you say because at the end of the at the end of the day, it takes about a month to create a habit and it takes about 6 months to create a lifestyle and then a year to create an identity. Like this is who I am. So that makes so
Mm.
much sense. You're like, why go for like the junk food when you could just go for the gourmet meal? You know, like
Exactly. And like too, like, you know, everybody is at a different stage in their evolution. So like maybe saying that like a smaller package is junk food, like there can be really potent smaller packages, but like I said, I just feel most resonant with people who are here to play long-term games.
yeah, and then also to add on to that, a lot of the times when people join the smaller containers, it's just because they can't see themselves beyond that point, and they're like, "Well, I just want to do this little time for now," and then they end up like adding on to like, "Okay, I'll do another 3 months, another 6 months, another," you know. So it's yeah, it's not to say that it is junk food, but it's just like the commitment like gets condensed, and you're working with the higher what do we want to call it? What's like the really high level of people that are like, I know I'm in this for the long game and I'm on this train of growth. And I like 1 year is like, yeah, a no-brainer, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's different packages for different people. So yeah.
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 hmm Okay. So I feel like I've gone ahead and really displayed what it's like for me to speak my truth amidst challenges and critics. So now I'd love for you to share your story and journey and embodied experience with that.
Yeah. So, hmm, where to begin? There's so much to say around this. Yeah, I think I touched a little bit on it of like, you know, what it was like growing up for me. And then this is like the journey of what I had to unlearn, all the things that I've learned that didn't serve me and don't serve me. And then really, I always say like my children are my greatest teachers. They teach me everything. Like, and it's so much healing comes from that. So I think like what happens at the end of the day, like they will bring up all these old wounds and it invites me to heal. So like the other day, my son was telling me, um, I got into this space of like him and my daughter were arguing, and whenever they're like, this is like my place where I get triggered when the two of them are just like in constant battle, and I'm like, "Arr, can you guys just figure it out?" You know? And so I was questioning him why he did something, which we all know. Like if I ask you why you did a bad behavior that you did, like you're like why, you're not gonna know why. It's just impulse, right? Just what I felt like doing. So I asked him why he did that, and he was like, "This is just the way I am. If you want things to change, you're gonna have to give me a brain surgery. You're gonna have to go and give me a brain surgery, and then I could be different. It's just who I am. I don't know." And it's just reality check. I'm like, oh yeah, of course. It's impulse. We need to teach them that. that pause, right? Because what happens is we get triggered and we react.
Mm-hmm.
I want that toy, I grab it. You're in my space, I bite you. They're not thinking. They're in that space of like impulse, react. And so my job as the parent is to come in and model that pause of
Mm-hmm.
impulse. Okay, what should we do next? Now I can problem solve. Because at the end of the day, it's that breath in between. It's that pause between the trigger and the reaction, or the trigger and the response that's going to make all the difference. And that's really the whole root of what conscious parenting is. And it's not just like, and when we think of like breathing, it's not just the heebie-jeebies of like, ooh, let's, do our breath work and all that. There's really science behind that of like, we cannot access our prefrontal cortex, which is our thinking part of our brain that's part of like problem solving, and we get to think rationally, you know? And we're in that lower space of our brain, which is the amygdala, which is like the survival brain. And so, in order to get up to that top part of our brain, we need to bring in breath so blood flow can actually go up there. Otherwise, you cannot reach it, and you're just going to stay in that reactive space. So, that's why it's so important to become aware and conscious of those particular moments and bring in breath to regulate. And not necessarily also regulate, also to feel it through and allow it to move through. And at the same time, there was something that entered my mind I wanted to say, and it slipped. Um, yes, at the same time, we do need to incorporate these throughout the day to practice because if it's not a habit to do it, we're not going to be able to do it in the moment. If I tell you, like, you're in red alert right now, like, there's a tiger chasing you in your subconscious mind, you're not going to pause and breathe. Like, that's not happening. And so, like, really incorporating these throughout the day of like, even in the time of calm when everything is totally fine, just consciously bring it and practice the breathing. And this way you can use that same tool when you need it in times of distress.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, it's
this is what
like
I love to do.
you're not emotionally flooded. That's actually when it's most important to do the resourcing tools so that when you are, you're faulting to the level of your training, right?
Exactly.
That's
Yes.
the new automatic standard. And like this has so many applications in really
Yeah.
everything
I
extending.
love this so much. I have a like whenever I do circle before I do circle time for my daycare students, I have these I don't know what they're called, like expanding balls. They're these balls that expand and
Yeah.
close.
Like the model of
And
the nervous system.
yeah, I guess so. I
Yeah.
use it for breathing. I'm like when it opens, we breathe in and then because the whole idea is to get deep belly breaths, so we want to do it slow. So they actually have something tangible they can look at to cue them, and it's like, okay, this is how long we're breathing in for, this is how long we're breathing out for, and then they're accessing their thinking brains, and boom, now we can learn.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Just a moment. I'm gonna turn my AC off. I'm really cold.
yeah, of course.
Hmm. Okay. Something that stuck out to me there and what you said with like that situation with your son of being like, I just need brain surgery. This is who I am. It's like, well, what if, and this is a thought experiment, what if we taught our children that who they are in their reactions isn't actually who they are, right?
Mm, yeah.
That like already starting to like bring forward that unblending with the story of who we are and like how we're identifying. And, obviously children aren't going to use this language and verbiage around it. So just wanted to drop
Oh
that
my gosh.
like a
I love that
curiosity
so
point.
much. Yeah, I love that so much. And one thing I tell my children, and this is specifically around anger, because anger can be not a fun one sometimes when we're in full on rage. So my children will say, I hate you. You're the worst mother ever. And I don't take it personally now, which back in the day I did. I did. I was like, how dare you say that? You know how much I do, and blah, 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 all that stuff. But now I've actually taught them so this way they also afterwards don't feel guilty about it because we're not rational. And then afterwards we feel regret. We're like, why did I say that? You know? So when they say, I hate you, the you they're referring to is this feeling in my body. I hate the way this feels in my body. I don't know what to do with it. And so I'm just going to say I hate you because they don't know how to communicate what is actually happening in their system. But they're saying I don't like this feeling because I feel like I need to punch you and I don't like it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I always tell them that like it's just the feeling that they're not liking. It's not the words that they're saying. So it
Yeah.
really helps anchor us all into like whether we're saying something mean to each other, we know it's just like help me feel this feeling through because I don't know what to do with it.
Hmm. Yeah. You're speaking to something really powerful here. And I want to like highlight that for you and for the people listening, that a lot of mainstream parenting, childcare, even like the specialist experts that come in for support in educational settings are oftentimes looking at behavior and coming at this
Yep.
behavioralist approach.
Yep.
And I worked in childcare for about a year.
Oh, I didn't know
And
that.
yeah, I worked at a Waldorf
Okay.
school and then I was a private nanny.
That part I knew, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'd love to hear your take on this.
Yeah, and whenever anybody took a behaviorist approach with the children, I'm like, you're just not even scratching this tip of the iceberg here. Like, you might as well literally be speaking to a wall when you're speaking to behavior, because it's like 0.000001 of what's going on here. So, can we just table the conversation around good and bad behavior for a second and actually look at what is going on and what is needed and address that so that the behavior is seen as a natural consequence of emotions having a space to be seen, heard, expressed, and that being what is necessary for a child's system to regulate meaning being able to be in the range of different nervous system states. So from fight, flight, freeze, all of it, like we're naturally going to move through these states. When we're looking at a behavioralist approach, it's like these states are bad, these states are good. And it's actually creating so much more dysregulation, specifically freeze, in children's systems that perpetuates the behavior that is undesirable. And oh gosh, I'm like feeling the rage light up in me because whenever these conversations would come about, I would always take the approach of, all right, let's just take a break from the classroom. I was a support teacher, so I could do that. And I would just let it rip, like let it go out. And like the children would be yelling at me. They would be like saying like cuss words and stuff. And like, I don't care. It's not affecting me. But my like the support staff around me, like the admin and stuff, they were getting so triggered. And so I would get pulled into the office and be like, you can't let the children talk to you like that. And like that. I'm like, okay, thank you very much. I'm done here. I only lasted 6 months in that system. And
Oh, we need more people like you in those
yeah,
spaces. Yeah.
well, I think I'm called to a different mission, but I do want to create like a environment where children are able to like receive um the the nurturing of their interests and of their emotional states in a natural environment. And so part of my big vision, and for those who are listeners, I don't know if you've heard this before, Esti, but my listeners have heard this a million times. I'll talk about it anytime someone gives me an opportunity. But my big vision is what I call like the farm. And essentially it's an eco-residential retreat center that is like reweaving the village. And so having programs for children to go through like unschooling, jungle schooling, and all the way from like having birthing centers for women to like the full childhood development journey. And so that's where my service is rooted in now
Is that
rather
what you want to create? Is that what you're saying?
yes. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Oh my God, sign me up. I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah, let's build it together. This is my
Let's
like
go.
100x vision. And so like shifting from like trying to like fight in the system to like actually let me create a whole new system has been like such a big exhale for me,
Oh my
and
God,
like
yeah.
such a like regenerative return on my energy. Not to say that there aren't challenges and like sticky points in the process too, but for me and like who I am in my journey, that just like feels like such a more um useful focus of my attention. But like, oh, let's zoom it back in a little bit because we've
Yeah.
gone
Zoom out.
far out as I tend to do. Which is why I love to work with people who are playing long-term games, because my most excitement and joy is at that like high level of like, okay, how do we create different systems and structures, conversations? It's just like what I'm calling speaking to with newer CEOs and rich revolutionaries. I have a few different like archetypes of names that I'm playing with there. But yeah, zooming back in, I want to hear you riff on unconditional love, which is one of the core pillars of who the rich revolutionary is. If you don't know already, she's rich in unconditional love, vibrational truth, and authentic power. So yeah, floor is yours to talk about why that paired with
Okay.
nonverbal presence is more powerful than any words we could speak, and like bringing it back into that childhood parent
Yeah.
dynamic or educator
I
context.
love that so much. Is it okay if I reflect something that you were saying before, or you want to dive into next?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, I just wanted to touch on the behavior focused good, bad behavior because so many parents still come to me and say like, "Oh, my child is biting. My child, they're just nonstop bickering. Like, I don't know what to do." And it's always focused on a specific behavior of the child. And yeah, I think like, and that's why it's like understanding the root of what's actually going on versus like the behavior. And so, especially when we're focusing on the actual behavior, like you said, they do go into freeze and they can't access anything else. And I've had this exact situation where it was shown to me so clearly how my son came home one day from school and he's telling me he asked his teacher a question, and his teacher responded to him by saying, "We already learned that. I'm not going to tell you again. You should know it by now." And he's
Rude.
asking me, he's like, "Aren't teachers supposed to teach? Like, isn't that his job?" I love how he's just like so true to himself. And he like knew it had nothing to do with him. And he's like, "I just learned that I'm just not gonna ask him questions anymore because I guess he doesn't want to teach." And I'm like, there you go. That's exactly what happened. His brain shut down. It was like, and now he can't even learn anything because I don't know anything because my teacher said I don't know. And he's stuck at that place. So
Mhm.
it's really so, so important to go beyond the behavior because that's not even the tip of the iceberg, like you said. There's a whole flood of so much going on underneath it. And one of the big things about that is many times we have such big expectations for our children. We're like, you should already know this by now. You're 10 years old, you should know how to get dressed yourself, you know? And there's so many lagging skills that our children have that we're not even aware. Like they might have a hard time with tying their shoe. You know, they have a hard time with telling time. Like, oh, I didn't realize it was already 10 minutes and I was supposed to have that done. So it's really digging deeper and finding um, that why of what's going on. Okay, back to unconditional love. So
Mhm.
one thing I want to share about unconditional love is a really something that strikes me is the story of my mother told me that she told me that she never really said I love you. Okay, so that wasn't something we grew up with, but I had a conversation with her after I left home around unconditional love. And because mind you, like never mind the part that like I love you was never said, but it was just the energetic exchange of like if you do this, I
Mhm.
will show you care. If
Mhm.
you don't do it, if you misbehave and you don't, pack away your shoes, then I will turn my back and I will become a monster. And so, she told me she's like, you're a mother. You know that every mother loves their child. And I was like, oh, I see. Okay, yeah, you're right. I am a mother. I do love my children unconditionally. And there's a separate factor of just knowing that you love your children unconditionally and also how you're showing up. Like I
Mhm.
can feel it in my insides from today to tomorrow that I love you so much. But if my actions are not matching up to that, then that only lives inside of you. And your child is not feeling that. And there's no unconditional love in the presence of the beings.
Mhm.
Yeah, I saw that
Yeah.
exhale.
And yeah, because I was just thinking like a big, big, big part of my like, journey in life as a human, as an entrepreneur. Um, we could take many perspectives with the journey, but essentially was like breaking that belief that I'm not worthy of love. Like that was a big, big, big belief for me to break that like was so deeply rooted because my parents were operating out of that space of like, oh, like, of course I love you. And they were in their own cycles of like reactivity, of like unexpressed emotions, of freeze cycles, of, not having that model to them of how to, be a human in the world. And so that gets internalized because as a child, you are dependent on your parents, on your primary caregiver for survival. And so you don't have the nuanced understanding of all of these pieces of like where adults are, like that teacher being like, oh, I've already taught that. Like, well, I can clearly see as an adult that that's coming from him being under resourced in his position and feeling like burnt out or whatever the case may be. And but your son receives that and he's like, oh well, I must be dumb and like not be able to learn this, so I won't ask questions anymore. And it's like these like breaking points in the fabric of how we're relating with each other that is the basis of the work that I do. It's like re-establishing that frequency, that embodied state of unconditional love, first with ourselves and then with all of our relationships, not only with other people, but also all of the relationships to the different aspects of our life. Because if we're, looking years down life, a child who has received that message of, oh, I must not be worthy of love because my parent isn't transmitting that energy, their actions aren't showing that love is the baseline. Because when I, you know, get angry and spill my Cheerios on the counter after like slamming my fist, and she yells at me and sends me to my room, and then I can't have my iPad or whatever dynamics play out. That's just a random one that come to mind. Like that might seem like a small moment, but really that like behavior, punishment, conditioned response over time leads to, well, children not trusting themselves and adults not trusting themselves and perpetuating these relationship dynamics in love relationships and business relationships. And like the path of entrepreneurship is seen as like this like ultimate initiation because we're coming up against these what people call upper limits of thinking that there's something fundamentally flawed with us, thinking that we're going to be rejected or abandoned or like people treat us negatively for being in our full expression. Um, and all of these things that really, if you trace them back, is coming from this dynamic that we have with our teachers and parents.
Yeah, I love that so much. And for me, what comes to mind when you say all of that is that for me personally, it was only if I am happy will I receive love.
Mm-hmm,
If I'm feeling anything other than happy, if I'm angry, sad, disappointed, ungrateful, whatever it is, there's no love. It's non-existent.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, and so I think that's a big piece here. And I think when it comes to like this is the conditioning when we're children, and a lot of it is the nonverbal cues. It's not even the words that we're saying. Like literally 93%, according to research, is the nonverbal cues. Like you can say one thing and your energy is saying something else, and that's what we're taking on, the energy, not the words. And so
mm-hmm,
it's really so powerful. One thing that comes to mind of how to connect in this way of like unconditional love, there's four different ways to connect. And I think they're all so crucial. And one of them is eye contact. like so many times, like I would just be, my mom would be cooking dinner and her back would be turned to me. I come home from school, she wouldn't even look my way to say hi. And I'm just like, are you there? Do you know I'm here? Like
Mhm.
just that recognition of, even if you're cooking dinner, turn your face for a second, eye contact for literally 3 seconds. It'll make a huge difference. So I was so conscious of that when I was cooking dinner and my kids would come home, like take that moment to even give them a hug and like recognize they're here. And even throughout the duration of me cooking, like I can take 3 seconds, nothing will happen, my food will not burn, and I can look them in the eye and turn back to my food. So eye
Mhm.
contact's a really big one. Another one is physical touch, which is hugs, kisses, caress, like all those things. Like I didn't grow up with any of that. Like there was no touch in my house. So
Mhm.
that's like something that I had to be so conscious of in my motherhood journey, and still am, honestly, because it's not something that comes naturally. Okay, at this point, I've built already that, but it didn't come naturally to me.
Mhm.
Um, so that's super important. And like, honestly, like as humans, we need connection. Like physical connection is a way that a way that we live, a way that we survive. We need that. In fact, they did some crazy studies where they took newborns and they put them aside and they didn't give them any, they put them in these, like, I think not incubators, but some sort of something to do this survey, which is terrible. But to see, I know, they were trying to see if babies can survive without physical touch. And so they
Mhm.
had like how they were feeding them a specific way. And then turns out the babies all died.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so it just like how crucial physical touch is.
Study.
I know, it enrages me that they did that kind of survey because I'm like, why do you need to figure that out? Like, let's not.
Yeah.
And at the same time,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it is. You wanted to say something?
No, I'm just like metabolizing what you said. I'm like, holy shit, that's insane that people did that. But yeah, like what's coming to my mind is like physical touch literally stimulates the like oxytocin hormone in our bodies, and like we can give this to ourselves too. And like for any parents that are listening, if you're on this journey of like breaking those generational cycles of like touch being in your home, like start with yourself and then it'll come more naturally for your children too. Like when you're feeling stressed, can you like lovingly touch your skin surface? And this is a practice in, I think, like maybe like a tantric tradition, or not sure. I have a
That
lot of
makes
practices.
sense.
Sometimes I don't know where they come from. um, and it's like an oxytocin flush. So yeah, like dead babies is crazy, but
I
it
know.
is like a valuable data point to reference to like really like shock people into a belief shift of how important it is.
Yeah, exactly. And then the third one is like being playful and silliness, bringing that into life because as adults, we're all like, oh, we gotta be so serious. Like, no, we can't laugh, we can't smile, we can't move, we can't play, we can't go down the slide with our kids. No, like, not allowed. No, like, go down the slide with your kids. Go have fun, play frisbee, run around, dance out. It doesn't matter. Like, go have fun. You're also a child. Like, we also want to have fun. We never outgrow being a child.
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. And that is like one of the main pillars in my work is play. And
Yeah.
it has been the most healing thing in my journey. Like forget about plant medicine, forget about like energy healing, forget about therapy, like play. Like can we talk about that for a second? And recently in this Born to Be Wild challenge that I've been holding, like we've been infusing play in our content creation. And like, oh my gosh, it's so cringy, it's so silly. And it's like breaking that pattern of equating professionalism and seriousness with like what is going to allow us to be successful in our businesses. And it's also reminding me of like what made me such a great childcare worker and nanny is like I've built this muscle of play with me and within myself, and so it is like my natural baseline. And so whenever there'd be a moment of like a kid like completely like melting down and throwing chairs around the room, I'd be like, all right, let's go, like, and just do something absolutely silly. And they'd be like, what are you doing? Like, are you gonna yell at me? And I'd be like, no, we're gonna get our sillies out and just like be ridiculous, like roll around on the ground. And like
Yeah.
it's like that pattern shift. And you even see Tony Robbins do this too, right?
Yes.
In his
He jumps on the
documentary.
trampoline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that and like in his, like that's his personal play pattern
Okay.
interrupt, like in his interventions too, like he'll be like talking with someone who's like literally on the brink of like taking their own life. And he'll just like say something
Mm.
super silly and like grab them by the hair and like call them a lion or like laugh at their like red shoes.
Oh,
Or
I know what you're referring to. I've seen that one.
yeah. And it like is so silly and unexpected that it like brings people into presence,
Hmm.
because play and presence go together. Play is like when we're in this state of we're not doing anything to get anything. We're like fully immersed in an experience of beingness, right? Like if you look at like children, animals, like what do they want to do all the time is play.
Exactly. It's innate. Yeah. And sometimes we forget that. And it's so brilliant. I love doing that when my kids are, especially when they're fighting between each other and there's the hands start coming out and I just grab their arms and I'm like, la 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 la. And it turns out to a whole dance party. Like before you know it, we're 30 minutes into a dance party. We forgot what we're arguing about. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah,
best.
dance parties, like shake your sillies out, all of these things. Like energy needs a place to move and flow, and it can be habitual for it to like pent up. And if we're supposed to be serious, it comes out as this like fight response, and we can just as easily shift that same heightened energy into play, which allows us to come
Exactly.
back to like our grounded presence in connection and unconditional love.
Yes. Yeah. I love that so much.
Okay, I'm having so much fun with this conversation.
Me
There's a few
too.
more
Yeah.
points that I want to
Mhm.
touch on before we come to a close. And so let's talk a little bit more about some of the specifics of breaking generational cycles and making that shift from reactive to responsive parenting. And if you could walk us through like some of the like what I like to call red pill, blue pill moments that you've experienced with your clients or in your own parenting journey.
Yeah. This is a really good topic. I think for me, something that, and this is going a little bit off on a tangent, but you'll follow through, you'll see where I'm going at. And for me, it was when I was married, I was in a space where I was trying to be the conscious parent, and my children's dad was the traditional parenting, which is everything I grew up with. And so I know this goes a little bit into like co-parenting dynamics,
Mm-hmm.
but in at the same time, like while I was witnessing that happening, really that's when I realized that things have to change, when I started seeing that same pattern happen to my children, but from another perspective, like it wasn't me doing it, it was someone else. And I'm like, oh yeah, that doesn't, yeah, I remember being the child in that scenario and I didn't like that. Um, and I think it's so interesting because if we're not aware, we'll just keep repeating it. And then even when we are aware and we don't have the tools, we'll just keep, what I find is either we'll do the same exact pattern that our parents did, or we will go to the opposite extreme, pendulum swing to the other side, and it's the exact opposite, but also not conducive. And
Mm-hmm.
so, which is what I did personally, because I was like, I don't want to be the punishing mom. So when I realized what was happening, I'm like, okay, I'll just be the permissive mom. Sure, guys, do whatever you want, walk all over me. Right? And then it just came to a point of like I was building and building and building resentment, and I'm like, this is not fun. And I found myself in a place of burnout. I'm like, I cannot do this anymore. And I don't know how. I tried the punitive side, it didn't work. I tried the permissive side, it didn't work. What am I missing? And so I think this is really like it runs so deeply in the generations because I couldn't even like pull this out from anywhere. And thank God nowadays we're starting to see a lot more awareness in this field. And I think it's so important to bring this new lineage of like, it's okay to feel emotions. I think really that's what it boils down to. It's like, we're so stuck on don't feel your emotions, don't feel your emotions, or I need to fix it. Like, you're crying, I'll buy you a new one. It's okay. Your toy broke, like, we'll buy another one. Don't worry about it. So I think like just being aware of this cycle of what we grew up with, how that felt for us. And if we didn't like it, then we have the opportunity to shift and change that. And especially with the work I do in Conscious Mama for mothers is that they're the ones that are going to be teaching this to their children. They're the ones that are going to be modeling this correction, not teaching, modeling is the way to do it.
Mm.
Because I can teach you something and you're not going to take it because I'm doing the same thing that you don't want me to do. So why would I do differently?
Out of tell codes.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really how children learn by seeing what their parents model.
Mhm.
And so I think, yeah, this is huge for generations to come when we learn to model differently. And it's okay. In the beginning, we're gonna mess it up. We're not gonna be able to get it right every single time, no matter how much you climb the ladder. Like I still, mess it up all the time, and I still have my human moments and I lose it. And I just also know at the same time I have that opportunity to repair.
Mm.
Like I remember at one point I was sitting in so much mom guilt. I literally put on extra weight because of this shame and guilt. I didn't know what to do with it. I'm like, I know I'm not doing the right thing. I know I don't want to be doing this. I don't know what else to do. And I heard somebody say this and it really shook me. And he said, if you're feeling so much guilt, why not do something about it? You can either do something about it or you can sit in it and it'll stay there forever. But the way to counteract that would be to take an action step. And so I was
Mm.
like, okay, I'm done sitting in this muddle puddle shame of guilt. Let's go, action. And so I tried that. I had this specific scenario that came up where it's actually a funny story. I don't think I've ever told this one yet. Where
Ooh,
my
interesting.
yeah, my children and I dressed up as clowns. It was the Jewish holiday of Purim. We dressed up as clowns. And I was taking them to this party. They were gonna have like juggling acts and balloons and face paint, like the whole 9 yards. We get in the car, we're driving there. As soon as I parked there, my children started fighting with each other and they're just yelling, "It's mine, give it back." And I'm like, here, sitting here, I planned this day for us. We got all the costumes together, and I really lost it. At that point, I lost it. I'm literally gripping my steering wheel and my knuckles are like white because I'm clenching so hard and I'm driving back home like a maniac, probably illegally. Not proud of that. Um, and I just got home and I literally just did not take them to that party because of one small, tiny little thing that happened. And I got so triggered. And I was like, we're done. We're going to bed. And I literally catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror on the way to my bed. And I'm like, I'm looking at myself with a face paint, red eyes. And I'm just like, holy moly, who am I? Like, what is going on? And it was in that moment that I realized, wow. Okay, I can either like spiral into this shame right now because this was completely out of whack. I regret what I did. I'm not proud of that. I'm so ashamed of it. Or I can go and have a conversation with my children. So I took time. I spoke to a friend and like debriefed and I allowed my kids to bang on my door. Like, I'm like, I just need this time for me. And then I came out and I explained to them what happened. And I also opened space for how they were feeling. I'm like, because I know that must have felt scary for them. And so I, opened up to how they felt about it, and they were a little frozen in place. They're like, I don't know, who are you? Can we trust you? Can we talk to you? Like, who was this monster? And I got so emotional with them, and I was crying with them, and I said, like, you know, I want you to realize that we're human and we all make mistakes, and at the same time, like that was not okay. And I know that you were so scared, and um, yeah, really just holding space for their emotions. I don't like to say so much like I'm sorry, I'm not like I'm gonna not do it again or whatever because I'm human. It's likely gonna happen another one way or another. But just for them to know that I am human, B, I'm gonna come back to see how they were feeling and help them through their emotions so they don't feel stuck in it and then grow up to be this adult and be like, yeah, my mom dressed up as this clown and then drove like a maniac, you know? I don't want that to be their story. And so
Yeah.
just holding space for it. And then we did our own little party and we turned life around. And so that's really was a huge point for me. It's like I can always turn things around. I can always repair. I can always come back and show them my human side and teach them and model to them that this is what we do. This is how we take accountability. This is how we take ownership for our own mistakes because it's
Mhm.
inevitable. We're going to make mistakes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Repair is the most important step. Like a lot of parents won't choose to look at, you know, what's going on beyond their identity of like, I'm a good parent. And that's what prevents them from actually taking the action that follows the identity of I'm a good parent is the repair process. Like I remember, I forget, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Which one is it? Remember or forget?
Both. There's a statistic
Okay.
out there saying that like something about repair being the I wish I knew this correctly, but essentially that adverse effects from a rupturous experience in parenting are become like positive impacts when repair part of
Yeah.
the cycle. I think like I don't know, like 75% of the time or something like that.
Yeah.
Don't quote me
Yeah.
on
And
it.
also, like, at the end of the day, we can look back at that experience and laugh about it. And, like, remember when we dressed up as clowns and it was hilarious? Like, we were all in tears. And
Yeah.
it's versus, like, if I didn't touch that, like, if they were to bring that up, I would freeze. I'd be like, no, 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 don't talk about that. Like, I'm ashamed of that. I'm
Yeah.
embarrassed. We're closing that one up, you know? And they would
Yeah.
live with that forever. So, yeah.
Mhm. And it like gives us this modeling where we can make mistakes, it's okay, like, and we have the example and like embodied reference point of how to navigate those mistakes in connection.
Yeah,
It takes
exactly.
away so much pressure around like this standard of perfection and
Hmm.
actually gives us the tools of how to be in mutually flourishing dynamics, both like in parenthood, but also like in our businesses, in all of our relationships, our romantic relationships, so that when something challenging comes up, when there is a rupture, it actually gets to be an opportunity for deepened intimacy and connection versus like, oh, like we're going to erode the connection and eventually not have a connection
Yeah.
anymore. It dissolves.
Exactly. And I love to celebrate mistakes, honestly. I'm like, you made a mistake. Yes, let's celebrate it. You're human just like I am. Let's go. And it takes care of that like perfectionist side of me that's like I gotta get everything perfect. And I'm like, I made a mistake. Yes, let's go. That's the way we learn. We only learn from when not only learn from our mistakes, but we learn a lot when we make a mistake. It's like I think back to school and I will remember all the mistakes I made at tests because those are the ones I remember. I don't remember all the other ones I got right. I only remember the ones I didn't get right because I had to study them again and I had to revisit it. And so
Mhm.
that's what happens is when we make a mistake or when we're just human and we lose it. When we say when somebody says I lost it, what is the it they're referring to?
Control.
The it they're referring to is the adult self because we
Yeah.
went into a childlike state.
Mhm.
So I see it as I lost it is like I lost my thinking, my prefrontal cortex. I lost my ability to think, my ability to problem solve. So yeah, just like a play on words of like same thing like I hate you. It's not you. It's I hate the way this is feeling in my body. So I lost it. I lost my ability to think properly and do things in a way that's helpful, you know? Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And last thing I'll say around breaking generational cycles is I think I always tell my kids like they are so fortunate to have me, just like I am fortunate to have them because we it was like a, you know, we've both they chose me as their parents and it was a you know, mutual decision.
Mhm.
And I learned so much from them. And this way I'm able to show up more the way I want to. And now
Mhm.
when they're gonna have children, they're gonna be able to be 1% more aware, 1% more growth, 1% more because I had all these years where I didn't have that
Mhm.
awareness and that growth and that mindset change. And so that's how it ripples out into the generations, and their children's children will have even more and even more and even more. And so we got to start somewhere. We can't just be like, oh, you know, that's just how it was. That's it. Ain't nobody like nobody's broke. A lot of times I hear people say like, oh, well, this is what my parents did, and look, I survived. I'm fine. Like it's okay. It's no big
Yeah.
deal. We made it, you know?
Well,
Yeah.
I think that mentality of like, oh, like that's just how things are is like super pervasive in like the over culture of our society. And it actually is at its root this like learned helplessness from all of these micro moments of coming forth with our like human expression of the emotions and the learning process and making mistakes and it being frozen. And so collectively, there's a field of belief that's quite frozen and like stunted in what's possible and like what we can grow into collectively. And it is, oh, my like utmost pleasure to be like, well, actually, things are as they are from like, I don't know, the most of what we're living is from like the past 200 years of agreements that people have made in these states of like frozen beliefs. And just because it has been this way doesn't mean it has to continue on this way. We actually have the power to make those same decisions that people made 200 years ago that have created this reality that we're living now. And we have so much power in every moment to shift our beliefs and shift the overculture of what's happening through our connections with other people when we are consciously aware and choosing in response to what is the highest match of me and this moment.
Yes, so good. That was such a good wrap. Couldn't
Mm.
have said it better. That was amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. And like, yeah, this what I want to like kind of unpack there of what I just said is like, I don't even know what I just said. I'm not even in my thinking mind, right? It's like I'm feeling this energy come through me and you see it when I talk to you. It's like coming through my
Yes.
whole body. And because I have for the past 5 years gone on this process of like liberating the frozen emotions in my body. And
Mm.
that has not been a perfect process. There's been some like crazy, crazy experience that has happened in not only the past 5 years, but my whole life. Because
Yeah.
I've chosen to feel it all and to like move through it all in the sense of I'm here to feel the fear and like to take the actions anyways because I am connected to that field of possibility and that like vision for a new possible reality for me, for you, for us.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And we have that ability to choose differently nowadays.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Hmm. To wrap up, can you share with the listeners how to connect with you, where to find you, any offers that you have right now or upcoming events?
Yeah, I love that. So I am at Evoke with Esti on Instagram. You can reach
I'll
out
link
there.
it here.
Yeah. And I am going to be doing a Telegram challenge very soon. So I'm really excited for that. Yeah, I'm really excited for bringing the moms into all of this. And yeah, that's really, and then I have a conscious parenting course that I have as well that I'm going to be doing in a group setting soon. So I'm excited for that, bringing in a group. And then I always have one-on-one coaching offers available. So hit me up if you know that you're the person that wants to break the cycles and change things, or you're just like in that space of like you're stuck, you don't know what to do, and you're sitting in this shame puddle every night, and you're like, I just can't do this anymore. You're just feeling burnt out. Any and all, welcome, and I will help you dissect everything and figure out where to go from there. Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you so much, Shanice. It's been so nice talking to you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for
Thank
giving me
you.
this
Thank you
space.
for being you in the world and everything that you're bringing forward. And yeah, I'm just like so stoked to be able to spotlight you and yeah, it's like
Thank you.
this is so important. So thank you.
Thank you so much.